When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is indeed a terrific Tuesday, not just because some get a holiday tomorrow, but if it's a holiday, National Wednesday, and it's agriculture show, even all the better. We got to start things off in a bit, giving a women's perspective on gender-related issues as we talk about, some good things happening over the Family Resource Center. But in the meantime, let's have some open line. I mean, you want to hear about a rumor? I heard a rumor. It has a song that is sing later. I won't even attempt it, but there may be a rumor you may want to share. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you so much. And before we get into a discussion in relation to Honoring Women Month, let's start things off with some open line, 949-8837 or 1-800-534-8255. Invite you to call and share your thoughts with us. I must share, though, that there's been a number of you who've asked, and I must apologize. I don't have the answer. So you've asked, well, where is this tower going? How high will it be? How much will it cost? Who will benefit? Why? I must share that last evening with a discussion, I thought, as I said to some of the individuals, I feel like I'm a kindergarten teacher, all in front of you asking questions. They're great that they're being asked, but is it being asked publicly? And maybe to bear the brunt of all of the criticism and perhaps shoulder the weight on your behalf, let me ask you to answer. What do you think about it? 50-story, 100-story building might just be the thing that the doctor ordered. It doesn't matter whether the economy is being overheated, whether we've seen inflationary tendencies and high employment prospects, the development and the potential for revenue and added growth might just be the thing that we need to reposition us. Or, as you might share, well, let's put on the reins a bit and get a perspective of where we want to grow. That much touted development plan and growth management policy might just be the thing that is needed now more than ever. Maybe not. Hey, 949-8837, 949-8037, or 949-6990. And I share that with you because as we go into the whole issue of the holiday tomorrow and we celebrate with others and we get a chance to share the perspective, maybe that's just one of the things that you want to talk about. But as promised, we get a chance to share with our guests as they get settled as part of, honoring women in our society. Perhaps something we should do not just on a monthly basis, but every day. Our women, our elderly, our children, the great values and virtues in our society. And when I have a chance to be able to welcome people like the panel that we've assembled, well, it makes it very instructive. First, only because, for those of us who remember counting last in, first out, we employed a LIFO method and introduced to the studio Miss Carolina Ferreira. Good afternoon.
Hello. I made it just in the nick of time, huh?
We'll let you believe that.
Okay. Let me believe it.
Please believe it. Now, I must share, in a positive way, hopefully not inappropriate. You've been in my mind for obvious reasons for so much later. So I haven't called you yet, but I plan to call you, just so you know.
No problem. Yeah, that's all right, Sterling.
That's all right?
We'll figure it out off air.
We'll figure it off air, man. Miss Carolina is a stalwart, a true champion when it comes to advocating what's good for the community, and especially those who are, maybe disadvantaged. So glad to have you part of this discussion.
Thank you.
Equally joining are two wonderful, individuals in their own right. Their intellect, their aptitude is only perhaps exceeded by their passion. And hopefully, as Miss Carolina has become, perhaps Miss Mayor, you could become a regular, I don't want to say fixture, because that sounds almost
old.
Yeah.
Fixture.
Yeah, we'll use that for the likes of Miss Carolina. But for you, I'm
happy to come back regularly.
Would you please?
Yes. This is already my second week in a row. Next week will be third, and then we'll see how far we can go.
Oh, okay.
Which is already fixed.
No, it's either two things, Either you like it so much that you return, or you like, you're sucker for punishment. I'm not sure which way. We'll find out eventually.
I don't know that I've decided yet.
Okay, well, as best as we can, we're hoping it's the former and not the latter. And also joining us, Ms. Carolina Bramwell. Thank you so much for coming on board. We will laugh.
Glad to be here.
We're going to have fun, but we're also going to be very informative and enjoyed. And maybe, as our good friend, Ms. Charmaine, as she says, Miller, gets settled. Perhaps this is maybe the only occasion where I think having that, what I believe that intrusive camera, on us. Maybe this will be one of the few times where I say, look, see the company I keep? If a man is known by the company I keep, you can't think too bad of me. Right, Ms. Charmaine?
Correct.
Well, thank you all very much. And to our listeners, yes, it's a fun day. And as we get settled, the idea that we're looking at what the Family Resource Center will be doing in relation to the 20th anniversary of celebrating Honoring Women Month.
Yes. I don't think my mic is it working?
I don't know. Can you sing first? 'Cause that's really the only way to test it. It's probably not working, so you can say what you want. It's off. It's off. No, it's working. Me either. That's okay.
That's fine. Yep. Thank you for having us, Sterling.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure being here.
It's a pleasure.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Okay, so we've made introductions. Charmaine, we're here. Carolina.
Yes.
Carolina?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
You should? Okay. Radio silence. No.
He's just looking at you.
I know. It's like,
it's time.
We can get this started. Let's do this.
Let's do this. I can see Miss Norma going, what is he on today? We paid for his meds.
Yeah.
No, I did that deliberately because I think sometimes in all of the chatter we forget to respect the silence. And sometimes the silence is so deafening that we ignore it. And having, to me, the true honor of having people like yourselves on our studio often to be able to, not just on an annual basis, but sometimes very regularly, have discussions about the challenges and the consequences of what a society faces with our elderly, with our youth, with our families, with our women, that we don't always appreciate that. We hear it, but are we hearing it? Right? Ms. Colleen, what do you think? Are we hearing what's being said? Is it being said often enough? Pull your mic closer to you. Strap on your seatbelt because we're going for a ride.
Let's go.
All right.
I think that, well, in the place where I sit now, which is more from a policy point of view, I don't hear it as much directly as, say, a FRC or the Crisis Center or so forth. But I think that when you have people who are, on the ground and are able then to give you that sort of feedback, then you can then put things in place to, one, make it more accessible for people to say what it is that they're experiencing, and then on the other hand to actually provide that sort of intervention. So I think we do hear it. Unfortunately, it might just be a few of us, but I think if we are loud enough, then other people will also hear what is going on, and then how can we then all join together in order to make things better for everybody.
Ms. Carolina, to you, if I may ask, what do you make of two things? One, some share that it has to be a deliberate concerted effort to maintain a consistent narrative on what we're trying to say, so that the message is not only communicated effectively and consistently, but in all channels in the same way to ensure that through repetition, people can recall. Then you balance that with those who share, but wait a minute, your message isn't accurate. What about this? What about that? How does it impact these other things? And this study contradicts that, particular narrative.
Well, I think it's, and that's the reality, right, when it comes to just about anything, whether we're doing. So I think it's a lot easier to talk about consistent messaging when you're talking about things like, so in my role, talking about HIV and AIDS education, for instance, there are certain things which are just stated as facts, right? So in terms of the way the transmission works or other things along those lines. Mm-hmm. I think what makes it difficult for some of the areas of the work that we all do here is because there are some things that the narrative that we're giving that actually speaks to beliefs or cultural beliefs or culture, which then actually require that level of cultural change. So, so it's one thing when it is that you have sort of the narrative and you're talking about it from a perspective of sort of facts or science or something else along those lines. But then there's also sort of trying to bridge that gap between, the things that we know and the things that we believe, and having those consistent messaging that actually effectively targets those belief systems that may be detrimental to our community as a whole, and not necessarily just speaking about specific genders or specific age groups and whatnot. So I think it's always important, but it begs the question in terms of how do you come up with that messaging together? And I think that's one of the things that we've been working on. From the gender working group and everything else, is trying to figure out where we want to get to. But we need to acknowledge the fact that some of the things that we're touching on are about culture change, and we're very hesitant when it comes to talking about culture change.
Huh. It's hard. Is it really, Ms. Charmaine?
Well, change is something that people are not very keen on participating, especially we want to maintain the status quo, whatever that is, right? Whether it is an oppressive one, especially to some genders, right? And so I think even for us from a service perspective, whenever we're working with our clients and we're introducing different strategies, different ways of managing issues and whatnot, like, it's hard. It's hard because they're already comfortable in their own mindset of doing things. Even if it hasn't been working well for them, they're still comfortable with that. Change rocks the boat, right? It changes things a little bit. And so that whole process of engaging and changing the way we talk about each other, using more inclusive language, changing our behaviors and mindset when it comes to women, when it comes to the challenges that we face amongst our social groups and whatnot, that is difficult, but it's not to say that it's impossible. We've made great strides along the way. We certainly have, right? And Honoring Women Month recognizes that, but it also recognizes that there's a lot of room for more growth.
All right. Well, when we come back from our break, let's pick up on that notion about change, and change is the only constant. And maybe change is the only good to those who are trying to orchestrate the change, and not necessarily the one who will benefit from the status quo and the like. And then from the Cayman perspective, the idea of what are we facing in our society relative to gender inequality and other issues, and does race, if anything, come into play in that? That may be the questions. And it's only Tuesday with one cup of coffee on his belt. Oh, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Spend a day at Grand Cayman's biggest one-day family fun day, the 52nd Annual Agriculture Show at the Stacey Watler Agriculture Pavilion in Lower Valley, coming March 6th. Raffle tickets are now on sale, and for only $25, you can win $20,000 and so many other prizes, including a garden package, iPhone, and staycation. Raffle tickets include general admission to the show. For more information, visit them on Facebook or caymanagriculture.ky.
Miami is so much more than just a shopping destination, offering a variety of vacation experiences. And regular Miami airfares are now from just $182 CI round trip, including taxes, with Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Accommodate small or large living spaces with reversible sectional sofas. Now on sale in a variety of colors for $750 from Tomlinson Furniture. New arrivals every week. Tomlinson Furniture, corner of Hospital and Smith Road.
Hi, I'm Colin Lumsden, the Georgetown manager and head of the Revitalization Initiative. Our capital city is the heart of business activities in the Cayman Islands, and we would like to bring it back as a center of social activities, with street-side cafes, green spaces, improved roads, and proper walkways for interconnectivity. The new cruise and cargo port is part of the plan and will allow for operators to meet passengers dockside with less lines and overcrowding. Cargo operations will be less intrusive. There will be pedestrianized areas for people to safely walk, shop, and dine. Modernizing the cruise and cargo port is a key element in the efforts to revitalizing our capital city.
Join the Radio Cayman team of Anita, Lynn, Ray this Ash Wednesday, March the 6th for the 52nd Annual Agriculture Show live from the Stacey Wadler Pavilion in Lower Valley. Radio Cayman goes live starting at 9 a.m. Radio Cayman's complete coverage of the day's events will be brought to you by Grape Tree Cafe, A.L. Thompson's, Super Stitch, Cayman Medical Supplies, Water Authority Cayman, Pesskill, Cayman Insurance Center, Foster's, and Cayman National Bank. See you there this Wednesday.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for those of you who've lobbied the deputy governor to say, let him keep his job, let him keep his job. No, just kidding. In the studio as we look at Honoring Women Month, and all the women in my life, my mother, my sisters, my daughter, my wife, I'm honored to know that we have such strong women close to us. When we look at our history, and not I say this carefully, but I say it deliberately, not to, be disparaging necessarily, but that statue that in the center of town, right in the corner, needs to be a million times bigger. It needs to be one of them everywhere, because it is the women in our society to date that have really positioned us where we are. Their men, their sons, their husbands, their brothers, their fathers went to sea knowing that they were leaving the society in good hands, knowing that there were these stewards who were there doing the great work. So when they came back, there was this thing that they could continue to build upon, and that's significant. Mm-hmm. You all know more than I do of the societies where women truly run things. They are the shakers and the movers. We look today's world, who's at the helm of many of the big industrialized nations, politics and business. Women, so wasn't for a woman, where would I be?
Where would you be? Would you be?
Would I be?
Yeah, we're really excited about partnering with, various organizations and across the island, just to really ensure that we're capturing what this month is about. It's about awareness, it's about education, but it's also about celebrating our achievements as women, right? And so this year's theme is #BalanceForBetter. And I was reflecting on the theme and how it's changed over the course of the years. So let's say about 2 years ago, it was Be Bold for Change, right? And so what we did, we brought down Dr. Jackson Katz to be a part of our International Women's Day celebration. And when we did that, we got a lot of heat as an organization, because there was a lot, we received a lot of calls, personal calls saying, how could you bring a man down to for International Women's Day? This is an International Women's Day event. It's about women. Why do men also have to be a part of the conversation, right? And so for us, it was kind of like, wow, we're changing, the mindset of how we celebrate women too, right? It's not only about thinking that gender equality is a women's business. It's a human right issue, and it's an issue that affects us all, right? And so bringing Dr. Jackson Katz, who pretty much talked a lot about accountability, about making sure that we are all equally responsible for gender equality, not just women, but also men. And so it was quite impactful coming from a man and an educator like himself. Moving on to that, last year the theme was Press for Progress, right? So again, making sure that we're galvanizing change too, right? We're pressing for that in our various spheres of influence. And this year's theme is #BalanceForBetter, right? Which is a call to action to pretty much continue that press for progress and making sure that we are having more opportunities to be more balanced, right? women and men in their various spheres of influence, making sure that balanced opportunities are provided for both of us in order, towards that journey to achieve gender equality. So the theme has been evolving, but it's all in preparation for us to eventually live in a society in which we are equal.
If I may ask then, to those, and maybe respectfully, maybe the man is saying, but in order to advocate, the equality, to advance women's issues, does that mean therefore the men are displaced, that men are somehow, maybe second place, or can it?
Right.
How does that work?
It's such a misconception, right? It's such a misconception. A man can be a feminist too.
The Dalai Lama is.
And that is okay. It's about making sure that we're giving each other equal opportunities, and our men should be our allies, should be our advocates, as opposed to seeing, I think feminism is looked at a lot as the rise of women equates to the fall of men. It's not about that. In order for us to see change, we need to have both females and males on board to ensure that agenda is pushed a little bit faster, than it is at the moment. So that's just a misconception.
I want to share. Sorry,
No, I was just going to say, all that feminism really means in society is that everyone believes that people deserve the same rights, and it's whether it's men or women, it's people of all ages. People deserve to have the same basic human rights, and deserve to be treated the same way, and deserve the same respect for the same work that they do, the same money for the same work that they do, and the same respect in society. That's all it means to be a feminist. It doesn't have to be a strong word as it is sometimes equated in society.
Or a bad word.
Exactly.
Nowadays.
Yeah. No, but I think just to add on to that, Sterling, is just I think that the idea that men are somehow are somehow suffering, for lack of a better word, because of this push for equality, basically comes from this idea, because the systems were essentially set up in which there was privilege that was afforded to men and have been afforded to men for different reasons, and therefore when you're trying to create a system of equality, be it based on gender or sex or even race or anything else, it means that you have to put those systems in check, and the changes in those systems is what makes people feel threatened, because the system themselves ended up being unequal, and it's just and because of it, when you're addressing it, then people have a negative reaction to it. But realistically, what you were doing is that because certain people were afforded additional privileges based on, be it sex, gender, race, or a lot of other things, others were suffering because of it. So when you're trying to kind of adjust the scales a little bit more, something has to give. And I think that people can feel under attack, or can feel as if this is something that's going to hurt them, because they have benefited from a system that has afforded them these additional opportunities. And when you kind of put everything in terms of the scale, they will have to work, come back. For them, it's going to be coming back down in terms of trying to get to that middle point. And I think that's what needs to be acknowledged. It's just the fact that there is going to be a change. And so for those who have benefited from privilege, that is going to seem as if it is something negative to them.
But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily have to be detrimental to everybody, because a woman bringing in the same amount as a man in a family household will generally benefit that household. A woman having more money and being able to actually support herself also equates more economical benefits, because the family household and the woman or her children or whoever it is that benefits from that money is also spending that money, and that has economic benefits in a society. And really, having equality and gender equality brings up the economic empowerment of a society.
As I listened to you, I was looking at a couple of things that I tried to do differently in preparing for today's discussion. Not only because we've been having this ongoing, but what is the real sort of pulse of individuals? So I did a couple of things. Speaking with some individuals, with their consent, I'll share with you what was. Question was statements were left on the table. Look at a male, how a father, how he treats his daughter in terms of protecting, advocating, trying to, advance her. The same father now who is in the role of a son, how he is towards his mother, protective, loving, and the like. And the context was that in our society, even from that perspective, men are protective and it would seem token trying to make sure the best for their daughters and their mothers. A similar comment was when we look at the roles within the traditional Caymanian society, many men were the ones cooking. They were cooking on the ships. They actually cooked in their homes. Now, we call them different things, if it was the man cooking versus if it was the woman cooking, but we looked at the roles differently. But the outcome was the same. The person was preparing the meal. And yet, somehow, we create that this thing done by a woman is less than the same thing done by a man. 50 years ago, and 5 minutes ago, it's the same discussion.
Right.
So, have we made any strides from that perspective? And are we still looking at the disparity, say, in pay? Is it equal pay for equal work, similar experience and qualifications? Is the woman in Cayman versus the woman in New York or in London or in Singapore being paid less?
The census in 2010, I think, showed a disparity of something like 80 cents to $1.
But 30% almost difference?
Something around that. So we're hoping now that we have a gender equality law which came into effect in 2012, which would have been then obviously after that census. So in 2020 is then when our next census is coming up. So we're hoping that we would at least get a little bit closer. So we're looking forward to seeing what that data actually reveals.
Not to talk about the school too much, but you know what? I put it out there. So, picked up on that. I reached out to some people for whom economics and statistics are, that's like their bread and butter in a sense, right? So they say that what they've observed in their practice is that instead of the pay going up for the new hires, the pay has come down. Right, so if it's let's say it was $5 an hour, just for argument's sake, and the man was being paid $10 an hour, all new hires now are not, male or female, are not being paid $10 the higher pay. They were being balanced by being brought down. Maybe it's $7.50, maybe it's $7, maybe it's $5. And I put that to see if the new census would indicate that there has been a drop in pay. It's the equality in terms of what is being paid, but has it been less?
I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
But going back to your point of how it is that we then classify our roles, especially job-related roles, that particularly really irks me because, as you just said, you're cooking. So whether you're called a chef or you're called a cook, why should it be any different? The task is still the same. And I mean, I'll reflect on my household. My father has cooked for the last, I don't know how much years. And it's because he has the time to do it. He takes pleasure in doing it. And I think that is what it should come down to. If somebody is better at a particular task or feels, that is what they would like to do, then allow them to do it. Right. Nowadays, I hear that I see a lot of men who are taking their children to school, for example. Again, that is a beautiful thing to see. When men are really stepping up and taking their role in the family that way. And I think what it teaches, whether a son or a daughter, is an amazing feeling of comfort and, seeing your father in that sort of nurturing light as well. So I think that these are things that we need to be recognizing and celebrating those, and at the same time encouraging other persons to also take on some of those roles.
Respectfully, I mean, this is the 21st century, and for people, let's say we were invaded by Martians, and they would say, but wow, in a workplace today, this person because it's, biologically female, and this person because it's male, whatever, there's a difference. We are still looking at that age, ethnicity, economics. We still see those things as opposed to the abilities. Are we somewhat primitive? I mean...
Yes. Yes. No, but I think it's realistically it is an issue of generations, right? And I think it's just like as you're looking at the younger generation who are having these dialogues in different ways, our generation even who was sort of exposed to a lot of these concepts and everything else in terms of, but a lot of people I think who are still in the decision making positions and whatnot may not necessarily have the same belief systems as simply because of generational issues, right? So I think there is the way in terms of the way that people are raised. I think there is the sort of generational issue to take into account. And then there's also the question of culture and religion and, the beliefs in gender role and whatnot. And everybody's frowning because I said religion, I know. And it's just like, but it's the reality of what it is that we're facing. So we're still somehow like, we believe like the same way that you were talking about, for instance, this idea of the protector, right? The father protecting the daughter, the son protecting the mother, and all of that stuff. Like, when we look at it from this sort of the duality, men as the protector, therefore women are people who need to be protected. Right. And it's just like, and independently of how old you are and where it is that you fall in the household, because you are male, you still have that role. It's just like, my son is 7. I never want him to feel like he needs to protect me at, just like, well, at any point in time, really, but definitely not now. As a 7-year-old, kind of thinking about those, and that's something that because it shouldn't be because he's the man. It's more about because this is your family, and I think when we look at those things, so I think it does make a difference depending on where it is that you sit, where your belief systems lie, sort of the generational issues as well, and sort of how strongly do you believe in gender roles and norms?
Exactly.
I think gender roles are changing. They really are. And it was interesting. We have a domestic violence intervention training program, right? And we run that quarterly. About 2 years ago, we've had this. I mean, our training has been in existence for over 10 years, right? And so we do generally the same things. Some activities may change depending on the group that we have. But about 2 or 3 years ago, we facilitated an exercise, and it was focused on gender, obviously. And so we gathered a group of toys, right? And there were some that were, boys and girls to play with, some that were obviously like trucks that for a fact. The men in the room were going to go for dolls. We just mixed a bunch of toys, right? And it was interesting because what we thought would have happened did not really happen, right? And so a lot of the men that were in that room, they didn't feel immediately inclined to go for those trucks, right? Because they've been raised differently. The roles have not been as ingrained in their home. Culturally, it may have, but, within their home and their small community as when you were growing up, for instance, right? I'm not calling you old. But it's true. It is changing drastically. And so since that, fair enough, I did have more millennials in that room too, right? And so that's definitely changed things for us also. But the way in which we're being raised as millennials ourselves, we are not exposed to those gung-ho, really strong-minded traditional roles.
Right.
That is changing very drastically.
All right, well, when we come back, let's pick up on that, because I deliberately ask about, the role of the male, and yet the man who sees his role as protected, is he also willing to ensure equal treatment, irrespective if it's his mother or daughter? Just equal treatment because that's the right thing to do. All right, let's pause, take a short break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
Check out Fashion Mart's Hot Spring Sale. Apparel for all. Up to 50% off women's, men's, and babies' clothing. Work or casual wear, and from babies through teens. Hair products and accessories too. Located on Printers Way in the old Little Darlings location. Fashion Mart's Spring Sale through March 16th. Whether you're planning your child's next birthday party or simply looking for a social night out, look no further than Kingpin Bowling at King Sports Center.
With a range of packages and specials for bowling parties, socials, and corporate team building, Kingpin Bowling offers what no one else can. The only bowling alley in Cayman. And it's indoor fun, which means no mosquitoes, AC, and don't forget about their bowling bar. Book your bowling lanes today. Call 946-BOWL. That's 946-2495. Email kingpinbowling@candw.ky. For more information, visit their website, www.kingsportscenter.com.
King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
The 26th Annual General Meeting of the Justices of the Peace Association of the Cayman Islands will be held Wednesday, March 13th, 6 p.m. on the second floor of the Georgetown Yacht Club restaurant, followed by a formal dinner at 6:30 p.m. Confirm your attendance by emailing ghmyrie@candw.ky.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Good and cleaners.
Come take advantage of our 1-month special prepay on Wednesday and Thursday, starting now through March 28th. Example, king and queen spreads and comforters for as low as $18. Blankets as low as $14.95. Ask about reduced prices on drapery cleaning. See Monday's newspapers. Puritan Cleaners, the center for all your dry cleaning and laundry needs, including wearing apparel. Puritan Cleaners, Savannah Countryside, 946-1884. Elgin Avenue, 949-2452. Eastern Avenue, 949-1074. Drive through, rain or shine. You feel good when you look good. Puritan Cleaners.
Save time, don't stand in line. You can apply for or renew your trade and business license online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just visit dci.gov.ky and click on the Trade and Business Online application link. Now, you don't need to stand in line, take time out of your busy schedule or try to find parking. You can apply for your trade and business license online. Visit dci.gov.ky today and save time for running your business.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us as we look at not only the activities that the Family Resource Centre has ongoing for honouring Women Month, and what is the hashtag? I say pound sign, balance for better.
Balance for better.
That voice is none other than Miss Charmaine Miller, and joining us equally from, well, I guess from a colleague from the Gender Affairs Unit, Ms. Carleen Bramwell, the Director of the Red Cross, Ms. Carleen Farah, and from the Crisis Centre,
we had this conversation.
No. I'm okay with it. I'm just thinking, do I say it as well? Because I've managed to say, I was told today it's not Carolina, it's Carolina, but I'm thinking it's Carolina.
It's Carolina.
I say for her so well that it just maybe she was forgiving of me, but
Well, you just gave me a job bump, so
I deliberately. And from the Crisis and Mihir Lamba. It's perfect, right?
Yes, that was great.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, I can have this recorded as my, ringtone. You're so perfect. but I share that because I look at the men who have been strongly influenced by women. They're confident. They have a strong sense of conviction. They understand the importance of hard work and the importance of fairness. And when they go into an environment, they see that whether there's participation in sports, the need that everybody should be inclusive. If it's in a work environment, inclusion and accommodations and the like. And I think that when we look at the Cayman context, we were so well positioned to capitalize on that. Have we? And if not, where are we going astray?
Capitalize on what?
On this notion that our historical context has positioned us to recognize the importance of women's contributions and the need for that level of equality within our working environment, in our society, and yet we see not as a fair representation of women in society, in politics, in business, and other areas. Ms. Carleen?
And that's why I think it's questionable whether or not we really do believe that and really recognize women for all the contributions that they made. Because when you look at the structure, for example, of different organizations, you'll see a few, if you're lucky, at the top. You'll see a lot of women maybe at the middle management level, and then you'll see a lot of women again at those lower levels. So have we really put in practice what it is that you're saying that we believe? Have we really, tried to progress and push women up as best as possible? Fortunately for us, we have some examples, good examples in the civil service, for example. Right now, I think we have, three female chief officers and 4 males, I think. So we kind of are getting that balance there. However, I think that again, when you look at specific areas of work, and I can mention a couple that I looked at just 2 years ago, fire services, prison services, law enforcement in general have a low number of women in those areas in general. And then when you're then trying to look at the top level, again, you have so very few. So I think that we really need to actually make some serious efforts into really trying to get women, first of all, involved in certain occupations, and then to have them moving up the ladder.
And then on the other hand, I would also say if you look at certain other occupations, social services, other things that tend to be known as women's jobs, right, women's careers, you'll see so many women, and around this table you'll see so many women, but it's not meant to be a women's job. It's meant to be something that progresses our society forward and is a benefit to society, and it's they tend to be sometimes the lower paying jobs potentially or something like that, but you will see so many more women represented at that point in all roles and all layers of those organizations, but not necessarily with the representation of men that you might want to see also to be a part of those conversations.
And that is then where and why then we have these gender pay gaps. Because at the end of the day, what are the particular areas in which they're working in? And have you started those conversations from the children were early? So from the children were young. So that you're looking at, all right, not telling a girl child that, oh, this is a man's world or this is a woman's job, right, but really equally saying to them, all right, these are all the things that you can do, and allowing them to go into that direction that actually suits their skills.
But do we even sometimes, not just consciously, but unconsciously, sort of gear?
We certainly do. We certainly do.
Women go into jobs that are known as, and this is a generalization that I'm making, I don't mean to make it as a generalization, but at least for us around the table, jobs potentially where you are a carer. And that becomes your role in society because that is known as also your role potentially in the household.
Right.
And can I just add, I think yesterday when in conversation with Andre, we were here for another radio interview, it was really interesting to hear his perspective on why some of his peers may have, sort of like hesitated to rise up the rank, right? So there's a chief officer position, then there's the legislation, right? So that in itself, the job in itself is so demanding for that worker, right, for that member to actually pursue. There's so many sacrifices that a woman would have to do, right? There's so much support system that needs to be put in place for that woman to be able to fully subscribe to that position while at the same time balancing the other areas of her life. Men will be able to do that more easily than women, right? And so there's that issue where structurally the way things are set up are not really set up in a way where we can, actually aspire to those positions just because we have our own limitations in place.
But could that be, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and to add on top of that, and just like whether or not we can even see if we meet the qualifications for the job, because there was something that came up about how women will not apply for jobs unless they feel that they meet 100%, 90 to 100% of the qualifications on there. Men are kind of like, it's like once they got to it, they're just like, yeah, I can do this. Let's dance, just like, and it's that thing that we don't necessarily teach women to be bold and to just kind of like just go for it, see it, and it's just like when it comes to it. I mean, I know there was Sir Richard Branson that talked about and it's just like learn as much as you can on the job kind of thing, like apply and see what happens and whatnot. But I think because of some of these other things that women are taught, among them in terms of making sure that the competency level and that you're being honest and that you're because people are going to rely on you and you can't lie. And like I feel like there's some of these other things that also kind of limits us as well when we're looking at these things, and even if we don't have other barriers like you said that would keep us from being able, external things that would keep us from being able to commit 100% to the job, but it's like we also from our own internal limitations too.
So I think that one of the challenges is that confidence. Yeah. And we have to really put effort into building persons' confidence, women's confidence, girls' confidence, and so forth.
Right. Well, let's talk about when we come back to and flip the coin and say, well, the man who is expecting to be not just a husband but a father may decide that this job the same demands and expectations of the wife, the mother. He wants to be a part of the family unit. Would that be a limiting factor? Does that come into play with the gender issue? All right. Phone lines are open, 949-629-90 or 949-8037. Give us a shout if you want to be a part of our discussion. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
A date change for this year's Orchid Show, originally scheduled for the end of March. It will now be held on Saturday and Sunday, April 6th and 7th, from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Park on Frank Sound Road in Northside. The annual show is a popular local tradition, not only providing beautiful displays, it also provides information sessions for would-be growers. In international headlines, the Hungarian government is dismissing French President Emmanuel Macron's call for voters to reject nationalists in May's European Parliament elections. In response to a column by Macron published Tuesday across the continent, Prime Minister Viktor Orban's government said the French leader was a, quote, pro-immigration politician, attacking those like Orban who are opposed to immigration. In Alabama, the coroner has finished the gruesome work of identifying the 23 victims of Sunday's tornado. Victims age and range from 6 to 93, and one family alone lost 7 people. The tornado was an EF4 packing winds estimated at 117 miles per hour, chewing a path of destruction up to 9/10 of a mile wide in Alabama for nearly 27 miles. That according to the National Weather Service. Some 90 people were reportedly injured. Chinese tech company Huawei today opened a cybersecurity lab in Brussels in the heart of the European Union as it tries to win over government leaders and fight back U.S. allegations that its equipment poses a national security risk. Company executives inaugurated the Huawei Cybersecurity Transparency Center, which will allow wireless companies that are its customers to review the source code running through its network gear. The launch comes amid a standoff between the U.S. and China over Huawei Technologies, the world's biggest maker of telecom infrastructure for the new high-speed 5G networks. Those are your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us. And as we have the opportunity to partner with the Family Resource Center and we look at the 20th anniversary celebration of Honoring Women Month, the good company of Ms. Sharmia Miller, Carleen Bramwell, Carolina Ferreira, and Ms. Mahir Lamba. As society, Ms. Carolina, I take on board what you shared, that maybe on one hand, we publicly champion that women are equal, that women are these great things that we value, appreciate, and have made this contribution, but perhaps in practice, it isn't the same thing. Our words and our actions are not in accord. Very striking. I wonder if that's the case. What do you think? Maybe?
Well, as I said before, if it is that we aren't putting things in practice that actually help people along, then what's the point? We're saying one thing and doing something else. But I think just kind of going back to the situation in the workplace, sometimes when we're looking at policies, for example, like we'll say things like flexi time, and we automatically assume that, it's the woman with the children that need it, and hence we even put that in a gendered way. When at the same time, what should really happen is that anybody who has care and responsibilities, or even if they don't. I'm a single person. I don't have children, but it does not mean that I should not be able to use particular things. So I think that we need to look at what are some of our policies. How does that support the family? How does that allow a man, if he chooses to take some time off work and look after his children or whatever, how does that support him? So for the benefit of the society, for the benefit of our children, what are the things that we're actually putting in place that helps facilitate that?
But then is it then that even as you share that, when the mother is with the child, she is, being a mother. When the father is, he's babysitting.
He's babysitting, which is ridiculous.
He's what?
Babysitting.
Oh, no.
Does he get paid?
But I mean, it's and it's the playtime, right, if it's the father. Now, we do have a caller online. Let's go to our phones. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for sharing.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks, and good afternoon to the panel that's there. This topic is always an interesting topic, and being the father of a daughter is even more relevant to my life. But I'd like to add 2 comments. One is that I've had some personal experience with the Department of Children and Family Services, I think is what it's called, and my perception of some of the decisions that were made or some of the feedback that was given based on the process I was going through, I think it was highly biased because I was a man. And I think it's extremely important that while we try to reach a point of equal respect and honor from the perspective of policies, I think it's also important that we appreciate the innate differences between the male gender and the female gender. So the 2 points let me highlight again, that both from a policy perspective and the personnel that's expected to carry out the policy, we'd like to minimize their biases when conducting their jobs, because I think I experienced undue bias not in my favor when I was going through a process with the department. And then secondly, I think that the interaction that or the activities that we have our girls engage in, particularly sports, because of the competitive nature of sports, I think it helps them to develop confidence that we're talking about, as well as the tenacity and perseverance that all humans require in life to succeed at anything that they do. And following on from that, I'd like to also encourage fathers in particular to be more supportive of the female activities. I'll go to a number of sporting activities. My daughter happens to play football, and if you have parents there, it will tend to be more weighted towards the mothers. So I think that having the fathers support any activity that the kids take part in is extremely important, both for the females and the males. But again, just to recap,
right,
policy must be carried out by non-biased individuals. And I know it's a moving target and a work in progress, but that's very important, as well as, get the girls involved in those competitive things that it's not about so much, the cliche of winning or losing, but when they understand that struggle and the goal setting that's required to be successful at sport, it can carry over into life. So those are my few comments that I'd like to leave
thank you,
the board. And let me be biased and say that someone in the room is related to me, so I'll leave it at that.
Hey, thank you very much for sharing. But the caller's perspective, is that something that we've heard before, that whether it's through the courts or through government agencies, that sometimes the man may feel that he's been treated unjustly.
No, absolutely. That has been a growing theme for us from a service perspective. We run various programs at the Family Resource Center, and we've got one program particularly that is male-dominated, and that's our co-parenting program, right? And so generally, the program throughout those 10 weeks, that theme of bias, of men being treated differently because, they are men and not being given equal opportunities to have quality time with their children. That is something that's recurrent, and that we've been noticing that within our groups. And it obviously has a detrimental impact on that child and that child's experience once once both mom and dad have separated. So the impact is tremendous, and it's definitely something that's growing. We've definitely noticed it, and I think, the caller is right. To a certain extent, we need to appreciate the differences that we do have, absolutely, but at the same time, we also need to hold, if you feel like you're being treated unfairly, in a biased way, we need to start holding those leaders more accountable, right, and be our own self-advocates too.
If I could perhaps pick up on what a caller shared, sort of reminded me of two instances. Fathers have indicated, I can't tell you to what extent and how often it happens and the like, but let's say they go to a government agency for assistance. If a mother goes to a government agency for similar assistance, they're more receptive. Right. The father goes, similar circumstances, isn't seen as dire, as important, as necessary, as urgent. And then in the workplace, the father will say, okay, I need to take some time, a scheduled vacation around the children's holidays because I need to be home to watch them, or I wanted the morning off to do things. The mother would probably get it, albeit, perhaps not as lovingly and kindly and willingly given, but, they'll give it because it's expected of the mother. But the father looked at it and said, well, you can't be, want to advance your career. And so in those instances, well, Ms. Carly?
And that's how stereotypes actually impact us negatively.
Right.
Because as I said before, if it is that somebody chooses to do whatever to take care of their children, then really and truly it should be done in a equal manner. One of the conversations and things that we have been thinking about is things like parental leave, as opposed so that everybody then has that opportunity to do what it is that they need to do to take care of their family. Going back to the caller's point, though, in terms of, and something that we just talked about before, in any case, in terms of policies and laws and all of these things can be in place. But as Carolina talked about, I think that's why I call her Carolina.
That's why I deliberately call her.
But as we talk about these things, you can have as many laws, as many policies, etc. But if it is that attitudes do not change and if practices do not change, then again, you have things on the book, but they make no sense. So when you're talking about how it is that I then carry out the service that I'm providing, that is why we ourselves need to be aware of what our biases are. So as part of any social work training, counselor training, all of these sorts of things, and anybody on the front line needs to think about what are the biases that I have and how do I then not practice those things in what we're doing.
And just to add to that, in terms of talking about potential disservices that we might be doing to our young people as a whole, right? So if you look at it, sport is definitely a good example, but it's sport isn't the only thing that can get you to that next level. It could be arts, it could be dance, it could be a whole bunch of other things that actually require practice and determination and everything else. But even within the realm, be it of sport or education and whatnot, when we segregate boys and girls, when we say that they can't play together, it's just like, well, if you say that, they're going to get hurt if they're playing football together on a playing field, or if you split them apart to talk about, puberty and whatnot, and it's just like, and you don't bring them together, then it becomes completely different spheres, and they don't have a chance to interact, and we're missing opportunities. It's not to say that girls shouldn't have sports in which it's like a girls' league the same way that boys have boys' leagues, but at some point they need to be able to interact because they have things that they can teach each other. and it's just like, whether it's to learn about fair play or whether it's to be more adventurous and sort of risk, just like when it comes to that. Or similarly, when we're talking about gender and education, when it comes to sexuality education and stuff, there's still schools on island that also separate the boys and the girls to talk to them about the puberty and everything else. And granted, is like there is, there's a reason to do that to some degree, but at some point you got to bring them all together and kind of give them an opportunity to talk about certain things, because you can't, that's a way that you end up sort of stigmatizing and talking about, I guess in Seinfeld language, ladies' issues or whatever it is that, you talk about, because men can't talk about menstruation depending on which, generationally where they're coming from, and similarly, like girls don't know about nocturnal emissions, and there's like things like that sort of become this, sort of this Bermuda Triangle of knowledge and information that nobody really wants to know about. We need to give them opportunity to actually be able to interact with each other in a safe space and in a way that actually teaches them empathy as well as, other things that they can learn from one another.
And facilitates understanding, so that in 10 years' time we're not having the same conversation again.
It all starts in the home.
Exactly.
It all starts in the home.
Well, I'm hearing voices off here. I'll leave this one now. But I think this is why having these discussions with people like yourselves, who are not only competent and eloquent, but as part of your daily practice, engages our society, and as the month rolls on, Ms. Sharmi, we'll be able to have a continuing discourse, and through that dialogue, maybe more of us become comfortable, not just with the language, but understand the importance of it. And when we think of it, it's good for all of us. Just like that call is shared. If you're the father, it shouldn't be an issue whether you're the father. I think, Carlene, you referenced something earlier. The scripture talks about, life and death is in the tongue. Words are important. Maybe it's no longer maternity leave and paternity leave. Maybe it's parental leave or family leave or some other word just in our legislation that gives a different connotation. Little things that are significant. Well, I want to invite you guys to come back and continue on, right?
We will.
Time goes fast.
March 13th, we'll be here.
March 13th? Mm-hmm. I think I'm on vacation that day. No, just kidding. No, I'm just
running away.
God's willing, I'll be here, and hopefully we'll be able to have, not just on a regular basis, but perhaps in our homes and public radios as well. So thanks very much. Any closing thoughts maybe each of you may want to share?
No, I'm really pleased to be here with these lovely ladies. I think, we really talked about important issues today, and I hope the audience can listen up again on the 13th of March and stay tuned with everything that we have going on.
March 8th, International Women's Day.
Yes, this is true. March 8th, big day for all of us.
We would like to see a whole lot of people on the government steps, showing that we are recognizing this day and wear your purple, stand tall and proud.
Exactly.
And hopefully also show up to the walk in your high heels. Gentlemen,
we're looking forward to seeing
Are your wedges?
Yeah, in your wedges. Now that you know.
Now that I know what they were. I'm still getting my cheese, but Miss Ferreira.
Oh, I have nothing. I said nocturnal emissions on the air, so I think I'm good.
You know what? Only Carolina. All right. Well, we'll pause, and when we come back, there'll be some open line, and then 1:30 we're going to talk to you about World Kidney Day, and then perhaps some open line again. Maybe Carlene will stick around, and then we'll see what she does. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
CUC advises customers in the Randike Gardens area off the Limford-Pearson Highway in Georgetown that they will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Friday, March 8th between 9 a.m. and 12 noon. Areas affected include Ranking Drive, Dykewood Drive, Candlenut Close, Randike Way, and Concord Avenue. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when utilizing the Limford-Pearson Highway in front of Randike Gardens, as CUC will have a number of trucks and personnel in the area. CUC apologizes for the short interruption, which is necessary to facilitate required overhead infrastructure upgrades to provide our customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. For more information on the outage and streets affected, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Cayman's biggest family fun day is back.
The 52nd Annual Agriculture Show at the Stacey Watler Agriculture Pavilion in Lower Valley. Wednesday, March 6th. Cookie competition, pony rides, petting zoo, beautiful baby contest, rodeo, Miss Farm Queen competition, Andy Martin the Cayman Cowboy, Roscoe the Mechanical Bull, and so much more.
Gates open at 7:30 a.m. with ample parking.
General admission is only $10. Children ages 2 to 11, only $5. And children under 2 are absolutely free. Or if you buy a raffle ticket, it includes free entrance and a chance to win $20,000.
The 52nd Annual Agricultural Show, March 6th in Lower Valley.
For more information, visit them on Facebook or caymanagriculture.ky.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
The 26th Annual General Meeting of the Justices of the Peace Association of the Cayman Islands will be held Wednesday, March 13th, 6 p.m. on the second floor of the Georgetown Yacht Club restaurant, followed by a formal dinner at 6:30 p.m. Confirm your attendance by emailing ghmary@candw.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. And as we have an opportunity now for some open line, 949-8037 or 949-6990. 1:30, our schedule says we get a chance to have a chat about World Kidney Day for a bit as we continue our partnership with the Health Services Authority. But for now, until then, as scheduled, there'll be some opportunity to hear directly from you in relation to whatever issue is of importance and concern. We had an interesting opportunity last evening to listen to a number of younger people. One, he said, listen, I'm almost 55, so still thinking that he's young. He's young because chances are if his plan goes the way he has it set out, the sacrifices that he's made, the children would be a certain age, his financial position would be in a certain, state. He'll be able to start to enjoy those things that all his decades prior, he was working and sacrificing with this intent. Now, he prefaced by saying that provided his health maintains and nothing unexpected comes up that changes that, he'll be able to enjoy it in, a few short years. But he shared, of great concern is this notion that we have a continuing sort of bickering, amongst the politicians, within the politicians, and the wider society. Where is the country sort of headed? Is there a path that has been charted? Is, it one that involves as much as possible the people? He said that he's gotten, many times privately heated discussions with family and friends and co-workers, colleagues and the like, when he says, well, if we pick on maybe the largest developer and investor in the country today, or if it was a decade or two ago, we seem to be picking on the wrong issue. We're identifying someone or something as the root problem without fully acknowledging that it's more than that. he shared is simply that on one hand, we don't have a clear path. We don't have the patience nor the tenacity to ensure that we, gradually, incrementally moving towards this particular outcome. He shares on one hand, it would seem that any government that is elected seemingly wants to be able to contribute as much to the coffers as possible, leave a mark on the political and economic landscape so that it would increase not only their chance of re-election, but perhaps have them positioned in history in a certain way. He thought that's, par for the course. It isn't, something that should be as a surprise to anyone. But in the absence of a clear vision so that everybody adds to it, he gave us an example, and I think one or two people in the discussion sort of took it on board. You could see the ruminations and the like. He said, if you take a child who starts school, year 1, and year 2, what was done in year 1, you add to that, and then year 3, and then year 4, and as you go through each successive year, the child's education and knowledge improves, building on what was established. Then at some point, the child is expected not only to demonstrate the competence, but to embark on a particular path. That may be, graduation at high school and on to some sort of tertiary level instruction. And then from there, in the workplace, as an employee or as an employer, again, making that contribution. That is the expected progression in one's life. But he says in our society, we don't seem to have that same level of approach. It is that perhaps one government gets in and charged years ago that, whatever one did, the other one would try to undo. Hopefully we don't have that same mindset and mentality now. But do we really have a clear path, a clear objective, a clear vision as to what is it that we want? Now, he shared that, his view, and I think many of us would support his contention, that the Honourable Premier is not only, very, very knowledgeable, but certainly is able to hold his own locally and importantly internationally. A bold vision as to how, do we move forward. But he says, to be sort of, very, very openly critical of any government's perspective, if our bold steps is only on a physical landscape, no matter how much economic wealth and financial prosperity that may accrue to the country or its people, where is that social stability and harmony? Where is the corresponding investment in the people, in the education, in the health care, in the social programs, in the provision of public spaces, in the opportunities for people to live and play and enjoy, what the country has to offer. And he thought that we've been almost neglectful of so many of the things. He shared as an example, what it has taken for the country to recognize that we have an issue with wayward dogs, not just attacking other people's pets, but attacking people themselves, creating, in some cases, a great fear. And whenever there is a report of a vicious attack on someone, it doesn't seem to get the attention and action that is necessary. On one hand, there be those who would advocate for, the protection and the rights of animals, and he thought, certainly no one would disagree with that. But on the other hand, through that, staunch and public sort of commentary, we ignore the fact that in this instance, these ferocious dogs have created a level of anxiety and fear in the society that has affected in a very negative way the quality of life and the ability of people to enjoy the evening sun, to enjoy using the beaches, to even enjoy their own yards and neighbourhoods. The failure to address that issue and the similar failure, he says, to look at what the physical landscape would be like. Is it 5-story buildings? Is it 50-story buildings? Is it toll highways? Is it a mass transit system? Is it a population that is 100,000 or 200,000? Is it going to be something that we see in a decade or in a year? What is it that we're trying to achieve? And given he shared that there are seemingly so many threats as it were, to the continued success and prosperity from the threat of perhaps the financial sector seen that could come as a result of the imposition of a beneficial ownership register, to the acknowledgement that perhaps people who live and work here should at some point in short order not only be allowed to vote but to stand for election. How will that change the political landscape? Could it translate into something less than a stable, harmonious social landscape that we enjoy now? And then when we look at what is available to the citizens, will we have enough resources to school our children, to house our families, to provide educational grants and the like, to ensure that we have people with the requisite skill sets to cater to the ever-growing and increasing needs of the populace? And he shared these are things that perhaps are being ignored. Now, what are your thoughts? Hey, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Likewise, 949-6990. We invite you to share your thoughts, so please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Advance Automotive introduces the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever. Built on the legacy of the most dependable full-size pickups on the road, the Silverado offers enhanced aerodynamics and a more muscular presence. Life's more fun with a truck. Get the perfect balance between work and play with the Colorado. Sand, asphalt, or mud. You can't go wrong with the most capable off-road truck in its class. Visit the Advance Automotive showroom on Owen Roberts Drive or AdvanceChevrolet.com. Don't just drive the road, live it.
Miami is so much more than just a shopping destination, offering a variety of vacation experiences. And regular Miami airfares are now from just $182 CI round trip, including taxes, with Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com.
540 months.
16,425 days.
394,200 hours.
45 years. That's how long we've been committed to serving you, and we won't stop there. Over the years, we have proudly grown with Cayman, making a difference in the community. That's why we're here, to stand by you. We are Cayman National. And we thank you for standing by us for 45 years and counting.
Check out Fashion Mart's Hot Spring Sale. Apparel for all. Up to 50% off women's, men's, and babies' clothing. Work or casual wear, and from babies through teens. Hair products and accessories too. Located on Printers Way in the old Little Darlings location. Fashion Mart's Spring Sale through March 16th.
Don't sleep on these savings at Tomlinson Furniture with King Silly mattresses for $475 and futons for $499 till supplies last. New arrivals every week. Tomlinson Furniture, corner of Hospital and Smith Road.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. 949-8037 or 949-6990. And as we invite you to be a part of the discussion, it is some open line. Have you share your thoughts with us and reflecting quickly during the break on a WhatsApp message that came through. So the public WhatsApp, whether you want to get through here or you want to get through to Mr. Art for the record, well, that's 925-3261. And interesting to know to what extent the general populace views relative to the future of Cayman, the way forward in relation to our physical landscape. The preparer's announcement just recently that we're going to be bold with our development plans, and maybe, that announcement for this new building. Well, who knows what you think. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon, welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Dwayne Dwayne number one, New Kingston.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Oh, you sound a better mood than when you was with Miller.
You think so?
Yes.
Why is that, I wonder?
I don't know. Maybe because you have better company than me.
Aye. I hope you're good, sir. I always enjoy, and recognize that if it wasn't for people like you who are willing to share your views so publicly, the society may be somewhat stagnant.
It is stagnant already.
Yeah, well, we'll change that, huh?
Yeah, well, I just want to say this. I heard you saying something a while ago about people voting here and this and that from here and there. I say this, and I'm saying this straight to the governor, the prime minister, premier, whoever. If you don't have your papers for the Cayman Islands, you're right. You don't have no right to vote. We can't go over to England and vote. We can't go to America and vote. Nowhere else. Only if you have your right papers.
But then why is it then, if that is the indication, right, that people would come to almost want, not just to expect, but to demand that they should have that right to vote in a country, whether it's here, as we've seen through the Foreign Affairs Committee, or in other countries? I mean, they say there's a semblance of human rights and equality and the like.
That's what they're saying about here. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't say that if we went to wherever they came from.
But then, are we? It may not happen overnight and as suddenly, but in short order, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, will we not see that change? I mean, if the Caymanian population, if we were to put people into different categories, and those who are, say, been here for generations, maybe 8,000 of a population of 70,000, right? So probably, 10-15% of the population may be that. Are we at risk, in your mind, that down the road we could see people who are elected that are representative of a particular ethnicity and nationality?
Yes, when you put them in there, they do what they want to for their own place, for their own country and their own self. They're not worrying about Caymanians or Cayman.
So how, if that's a concern, how do we ensure that in this sense of being inclusive, that we get people to appreciate that we're in this boat together? I don't know about anybody else, but if all we're on a cat boat and it springs a leak, it's going to sink, and everybody on board is going to sink with it.
If everybody going to sink, when it start to sink, that's when some of them going to grab their life off and run.
So how do we ensure that doesn't happen? That if it sinks, then we all put our fingers in to plug the holes. That we all work together to maintain the stability, the prosperity.
That's going to be a job to get them to work with you to plug the hole. What Cayman needs to do is make sure they do the right thing. Make the Caymanians vote for who they want in the house, who they think should be there, and so on. Not outside, because we cannot go and do it. And I say no. I'm not being rude to you when I talk this way.
No, sir. No, sir. Not at all.
I'm just talking plain and fair. I talk slow because I don't hear good.
Well, no, I hope for that mean that we hear what you say much more clearly.
Okay, well, I said don't do it. If it's Cayman voting, it's Caymanians to vote. If you outsiders get the papers and so on this and status and whatever you want to call it, this and that, and they have the right, fine. Let them go vote. Otherwise from that, no. That's how I feel about it. And I hope the government is listening. I hope the governor is listening too, so he can pass down to the Queen and to the Prime Minister.
Would that, in your mind, then change anything?
If it would, what would change anything?
If we were to pass along those sentiments to the governor, and then through the governor's office to the FCO and then the UK Parliament, and they say, you know what, as part of self-determination, as part of being in control of its own internal affairs, that those rules relative to immigration, residency, status and voting must be for the country and the respective territories, and not for the UK Parliament.
That's right. They got to respect where they are. And if they don't have it, they just sit back and listen.
Would you accept then the Premier's contention that if that was to be forced upon us, that he would, as he said, lead the charge to independence? Is that something that we should be willing to go to?
I didn't want it first, but nowadays I said get out.
Because of that?
Not only that, there's a lot of things going on. I heard some evenings ago, where they not even looking at this help me with the order. With the after business, we they need to know all the business.
Right, the beneficial ownership, who owns the company.
Beneficial ownership,
right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Then I heard that, if I'm not mistaken, either yesterday or last week.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that they wasn't digging into that too much. I hope they start digging into their own dirt up there and leave the Cayman Islands alone. Just because the place is prospering, England is dying to get everything out of here so they can run back over there.
But then I say this, and I trust, there's some of us who are a little bit, more thin-skinned than others, and then there's some of us who, despite what we may say, we lack not only the moral but the intellectual fiber to process it properly. But is then the charge and allegation that as a people we lack leadership, vision, conviction, fortitude in order to do the right thing? We pander and try to placate and otherwise just, do as much as we can because it's political expedient. Is it now the time for the Daniels to rise up and to say, this is where we need to be, this is the course that we chart?
They've been talking about it long enough. They've been giving us enough trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Nearly every week you hear something new. And I said, Cayman Islands, Caymanians, stand up. Stop sitting down, keeping them mouth shut. Get up and say something. Make the Premier hear you. Make the Deputy hear you. Make the Speaker of the House hear you. Everyone from the Governor right down.
In the words of Bob Marley, get up, stand up. Stand up for your rights. Is that what you're sharing?
Tell them about it now.
I'm asking.
You know it?
I believe that as a people, we need to start to appreciate that as we extend, a helping hand, we have to be willing to hold a sure footing.
You sitting down there and this and that happening, you don't hear people saying nothing, you don't see nothing being done about it. It just as if water is washing over you.
But why is nothing happening? Because as I listen to you, your sentiments, and thankfully you're willing to share them publicly, resonate with so many, and they echo what we hear privately from people from all walks, from all sort of, what do you want to call it, nationalities and the like, that there's a fear that within the country, the threat isn't just to the economic prosperity, but it's to the social fabric. And the things that were attractive and the things that were, so appealing, as it were, are the same things that are being eroded. And for the most part, if we lose that, then do we risk losing all the other things that make us economically viable?
If we keep the country going in the right direction, we will not lose what we have, because that's why people is coming here to see the beauty of the Cayman Islands, not 50-story things and all those sort of things, because they can go Miami and see them.
Okay, and you referenced that. So whether it's a 50-story building, a 100-story building, whether it's 15 50-story buildings, whatever the case is, you're sharing something that many, I believe, have already said, that if we do those things, that we no longer become attractive, and instead of getting more business and more people, we may end up losing. Do you think that as a country, whether it's a government, whether it's advisors to the government, whether it's would-be investors or the like, that we're actually taking account of that could be a very possible reality, that with more we get less?
Yes, sir. Because first thing I'm going to say, that place is not too attractive no more. Let's just run down Miami or go over to Bahamas.
But to those who say, well, okay, you lose a certain segment, but there are, almost 10 billion people in the world. Okay, I exaggerate slightly, but all those people in the world, there are so many who haven't been here, and we will lose a certain clientele that used to come, but we'll gain so many more because, one, we have something new and different, and two, they haven't been here before, so here's something to attract them in the first place that didn't appeal to them before. We were
They haven't been here before because they haven't seen it after they come once. Sure. I can't wait to go back down there. Okay? That's the way I feel about it.
You're probably right, sir. You're probably right.
I am saying they need to keep the Cayman Islands in a decent, respectable way that when people come, they're seeing different things than what the outside world is offering, and stop making money, bribe everything, buy out the whole Cayman Islands.
if I could ask of you, and not expecting necessarily you to answer, but if you wish, please do, but to others. So on one side of the coin, we ask the question, the Honourable Premier says if the UK is going to push this down our throats, then therefore he will be the first to lead the charge to independence. Another coin, or a side of another coin, to those who would say, well, if the government is going to consider 50-story, 25-story, 30-story, 100-story buildings, if they're going to consider these things in relation to development, that they're going to lead the charge to, early elections, to whatever, ensure that it doesn't happen. Is that something then that you think the populace should pursue?
The populace should, but the problem is the populace won't.
Why?
Is either afraid or found to working in government something, and I don't care, or government helping, I don't care. What I got to say, I got to say shit.
So we are afraid, or we are unwilling to offend family and friend, but you're saying that we probably think that that's what we should do, but we lack the... I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
You can tell me whatever you want.
Yeah. No, I will. But I just want to make sure that I understand. That we probably lack then the wherewithal and the courage and the conviction to do what we're thinking that we should be doing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, and some of them is afraid if the God family might make them lose job too.
True. Okay.
First thing you hear, look here, we heard your family talking about us. 30 days notice, you're gone.
Okay, so then if that is a perception or a fear or even the reality, then does that not mean that this thing, whether it's the higher story buildings or whatever that thing is, does that not mean that this is going to happen anyway because people are too afraid to say anything about it?
That's right. That's what I'm trying to say.
Wow.
People are not getting up and saying nothing, and that's why I'm saying to the government, keep the Cayman Islands as a decent place for tourists want to come and see something different, not the same as where they're living, or to go down Florida, Bahamas, wherever they go, see all these same things. It don't make no sense.
All right.
Okay, sir, I'm sorry I took this so long.
Not at all.
I just had to get it out, and I'm sorry if I offend government, but tough luck.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, for sharing, and I appreciate that. With respect to the call in the queue, we just have the quarter to a break. Let's take that, and we'll join you right after. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Spend a day at Grand Cayman's biggest one-day family fun day, the 52nd Annual Agriculture Show at the Stacey Watler Agriculture Pavilion in Lower Valley, coming March 6th. Raffle tickets are now on sale, and for only $25, you can win $20,000 and so many other prizes, including a garden package, iPhone, and staycation. Raffle tickets include general admission to the show. For more information, visit them on Facebook or caymanagriculture.ky.
The Country Top 40 just keeps rolling on.
Hi, this is Bob Kingsley, and this weekend on the Countdown, the 40 hottest hits on the radio right here.
CT40. This here's Saturday afternoon.
From 12:15 until 3:30.
CT40 Milestone. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
The 26th Annual General Meeting of the Justices of the Peace Association of the Cayman Islands will be held Wednesday, March 13th, 6 p.m. on the second floor of the Georgetown Yacht Club restaurant, followed by a formal dinner at 6:30 p.m. Confirm your attendance by emailing ghmary@candw.ky.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio K-Man for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of K-Man's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio K-Man News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 949-6990. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon. Welcome. How are you?
All right, Mr. Dwayne.
My friend, all is well today, I hope?
All is well, sir.
All right. Well, good to hear from you again, man.
Listening to the show. So, we going to go independent then?
Why would we go independent? Well, what would be that thing that pushes us now? Or is going to push us? What do you think?
It look like one guy with an ego is looking to do that.
Why? I mean, what would be that thing, though, that was so significant that is that deal breaker, as it were?
Well, everything that he mentioned that he won't go independent for, I don't believe that's really what he's trying to avoid. I believe that last part, the financial beneficiary. I believe that is exactly what. And then after he stand up to, or after he run him out with England, Mr. Man come and say he gonna build a 1.6 or 1.3 billion dollar 10-story something out in town or something, right?
Well, yeah, it's been somewhat vague on specifics as to exactly,
But it's just weird. So sorry, it's just weird that right after he said that he gonna go independent, then comes this obligation or this promise. Not sure? Because let me show you something now. Sorry, Mr. D.
No, you go ahead, man. I listen to you. Sorry.
Just hold on a minute. You notice that you catch the news that with him Benjamin Netanyahu. You saw what come up with him.
The Israeli Prime Minister, yeah.
He got bribed for $100,000, a box of cigars, and some tickets to Mariah Carey concert. Okay. This is a man that getting $10 million a month from the U.S., right? That was willing to take a little $100,000 bribe plus some Monte Crisco's, right? That's somebody in a big country, right? So what do you think our like what you would take then to bribe somebody in a little what do you call country here like this here?
Now, that level of, as you would say, the perception that people can be influenced, whether we call it bribed or whether induced or otherwise, whether it's politicians or business leaders or, even other civic leadership, in order to look favorably on something, could easily happen in a country with, 300 million as it can with a country of, 30,000.
Yeah, that is right. That is right. So if anybody think that the actions are noble, but the independence, just look at where you're going to get after the independence. You gotta go now and design a new flag, and then after all the human rights and all that things that you went through, all that can be simply erased. You understand? Because then you're not under no more like what you call what we had with England. You're gonna be under a dictatorship or something of that sort. A false democracy, what you would call that.
So the idea that you have a semblance of justice and a respect for rule of law, you feel could be jeopardized because we're independent?
Most definitely. Most definitely, Because you see where we are, we're in a transshipment point of certain.
Right. Okay.
Understand? Not only on the seafaring or on the planes or anything, but also in the cyber. That's where we also, conjunction with all these, what they call underworld people. You understand?
Right. But then, as you shared out too, perhaps an independent nation or quasi-independent, if I heard you, the comments and the comments of others, could be more heavily influenced, by a large benefactor or a small group of benefactors, without the level of accountability. Do you think that's the fear that people have more than anything else, that we would not have that semblance of, law and order because we're independent?
Definitely. I could never see a dollar, a Cayman dollar with the Premier face or Mr. McKeever face on it, work the same as the Queens. I can never see that. I can never see that happening. Never.
But we could be independent and still remain a part of the Commonwealth. I mean, there are, as you share, a lot of questions and concerns. If I don't wish to draw improper inference from what you're sharing, but if we're talking about independence, is it, as some have speculated, that we're being a little bit too flippant, with batting the word around? There was a time when we didn't talk about it enough, and now maybe we're talking about it so much that it becomes almost inconsequential, and we don't see potentially the negative ramifications. No,
they already fear-mongering about seeing the same sex out of marriage, or having the same whatever as them, and people coming down from England in running an election, in voting, right? That not in. I mean, I gonna go back to my speculations, but you had somebody come down here, right, from England that was appointed to you, and he came here, not only in a week or something, he got more popularity or more welcoming than you in your own country, so he had to leave. Plus, he's some real funny color skin, right? That's just me. You understand? That's just me. And they can hold that all they want, but I seen that so much times in the workforce and all over. I seen that come out. Like it's so easy for them. You don't even know.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for people we see with big egos and little sense to kind of let that go. You understand?
Yeah,
and they can try to fool you all you want, but that financial beneficiary ownership, that's exactly what they're fearing. You can't tell me about no same sex because sodomy was illegal one time, and I don't ever recall anybody really getting arrested for being under the suspicion of sodomy, like willful assault, sodomy. You understand? So they could have done it for a long time. They didn't do that.
I hear you, man. Listen, I always enjoy your contribution, what you share with us. We do have another caller that would like to get to for a break, man. Talk to you again soon, right?
Cool.
All right, blessings. Let's take one more call before the break. Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Today.
Hi, Dwayne. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, my friend. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thanks for doing that. I was reading the newspaper today where they're going to extend the runway, and to much of my surprise, they're extending the runway west
into the Crew Road area.
Yes.
Okay.
I would have thought that they would have extended it into the North Sound, because that particular part of the North Sound is just as dead as McGibbey Pond. It ain't nothing here. So I don't know what it. And I mean, the question that would have to be big to ask is that 90% of the time the planes are landing from runway 08, which is approaching from the west. That's 90% of the times. when they expand that runway going west, however more 1,000 feet that they're going to do, how much of that runway is going to be actually used for landing? Because if you look at the approach now, and when the planes come in, basically to utilize that particular part of the runway, you would have to they would be landing on top of Credit Union building.
Right. So it would be immediately for takeoff then, perhaps.
But then basically they're telling me that the bigger airplanes that they want to come in here,
mm-hmm.
The current runway is enough for them to land. If that's what they're selling, then that's understandable. But I can't see how how beneficial it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely no benefit by coming that way. But if they extend it into the north sound, then the present approach system, the present approach that they approach on, then they would have a lot more runway to their access.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind engaging you if you wish to talk about it further, but we do have that news break coming up. You want to hang on, or you want us? Because I want to ask you a couple of things about it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll hold on. Yeah.
Thank you for being so gracious. Let's pause. Quick news break, and then we come right back to the caller. Stay tuned.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
20 events for 20 years of honoring Women's Month in the Cayman Islands. Charmaine Miller with the Family Resource Center said the idea is to raise awareness around issues as well as empowering women. Things kicked off on Sunday with a special church service followed by a roundtable discussion right here on Radio Cayman on Monday. The next big honoring Women's Month event is a special screening of Captain Marvel at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, March 8th at Caymana Bay Cinema. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, a UK patient's HIV has become undetectable following its stem cell transplant. In only the second case of its kind, the London patient, who was being treated for cancer, has now been in remission from HIV for 18 months and is no longer taking HIV drugs. The researchers say it is too early, though, to say the patient is cured of HIV. 7 members of one family were among the 23 victims identified after an outbreak of tornadoes devastated the U.S. state of Alabama. Every one of the victims, including 4 children, were found close in proximity to homes. The victims range in age from 6 to 89. And Hillary Clinton has ruled out a second U.S. presidential run in 2020. Mrs. Clinton told New York's News 12 TV channel, "I'm not running, but I'm going to keep on working and speaking and standing up for what I believe." As the Democratic candidate in 2016, Mrs. Clinton was widely expected to become the first female U.S. president before a shock defeat by Mr. Trump. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 949-6990. The caller, very graciously waiting online as we went to the news. Welcome back, man. Thanks for sharing with us.
Yes, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're talking about the runway extension for those who just joined us, and you're sharing that the announcement put 1,000 feet or so proposed extension west. That would be Smith Road, Crew Road direction, right?
Right.
And that would aid probably more in your mind the takeoff as opposed to the landing of the larger aircraft.
Exactly.
Okay. So what do you make of that then? I mean, is it, as you said, that perhaps we don't need it for that perspective? The big aircraft can land here now if they opted, but it just can't take off.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I would have thought that it would have been more beneficial to go in the North Sound with it. I mean, you know, I like I said, that particular piece of the North Sound there, that just it did is make a way fun.
Okay.
So, I mean, if they went in that direction, then they'd have the best of both worlds.
Right.
You know.
If I can ask you, there are those who have shared that the I call it the pond right by the airport fence as you go around the corner. That is quite deep and will require a fair bit of fill. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. That's always been a contention that we had. Right.
Right.
And then secondly, into the North Sound itself. Not a marine engineer, but there are those who have expressed concern that trying to extend the runway into there, not only the environmental and ecological challenges, but economically, it can be expensive. Your experience, your input, what are your thoughts?
Well, Dwayne, I think I can tell you one thing. It would be surely more inexpensive trying to do it going into the North Sound, because they're talking that they're going to have to remove the VOR and there's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to ship from down, move them down. But if you just go into the North Sound, you're not troubling anything.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, it's just a matter of you know, just doing the proper you know, putting the proper stuff down. I mean, you got quarries here that got a lot of fill,
right?
And I'm sure that they would make boulders for them, you know,
right?
For them to you know, to facilitate them with the right material. And there's no one going to tell me that it's going to be any astronomical sum going that direction.
Right. What would you say then to the contention? There have been some recently, more so, and then now that the story is sort of more in the public domain, last day or so, some who have shared that this was the plan all along, that, you know, it was probably expected to come after the next election, but let's advance things forward for different reasons, and when extending the runway into the North Sound is the primary objective. But we need to kind of, how did the guy put it to me this morning? He says, you know, I need to kind of bewilder the people a little bit so that, you know, if they come with the left and hit them with the right. I think he put it.
Well, you know, sometimes, as you know, sometimes with issues that, especially the things that are not going to be beneficial to us, the politics needs to stay out of it, and a decision has to be made. Yes, there's those environmentalists, there's those who say that, you know, a boat shouldn't cross in certain areas of the North Sound. But then, like I said, you know, you can go in, you can have a look. I visited up there just a couple of months ago and looked up there. You know, there's no sign of life anywhere around there. So, you know, but you know, that's the way they're doing.
Yeah, man.
You know, get some people for it and some against.
Right.
Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Then.
But thank you again, man, for sharing with us, and I appreciate you staying online. All right, we got a couple of more calls. Let's join our callers. Welcome. You're on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
Okay, we got a couple of callers. Let's take one of... Good afternoon, welcome.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sorry about that. Welcome, man.
Are you on now?
You are indeed live.
Yes, Stalin, the paper, Robo. Stalin.
Yeah, man.
You know, 3 minutes now. You see, listen, things change around here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up in 1995, the road, that dog pound and plantings down there, right? That changed. You could go through there and through the wind blast, that changed. Everything changed, right? And listen, what Stalin, I know you're actually a mediator, right? But I got to be intermediary this afternoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know you'd have good dialogue, right?
Yeah, man, always.
So like I can start here a bit now. The Premier Mr. Alden, right?
Mm-hmm.
He advocates for this icon tower,
right?
Which is logic, right? It kept that premises he land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever cadastral is, that's sorted out. It going up. You can't stop it. It is the property. It going up, right? But Mr. Alden, he got a concern about the recession occurring, right?
Mm-hmm.
It happened early part of 2008. It happened in March 2001 till November, right? And that can elevate it right? The economy,
Right.
1.5 billion in an 8-year time frame. Like it'll be in a recession. It makes simple sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the two tenants about the independence, right? Listen, from the age 17, right? You do your written test, right? And you're going to have a vehicle and you get a driver license, right?
Right.
You get a vehicle and you're independent, right? Listen, yeah, they come, we have it. Listen, a while ago, right? A couple of hours ago, up in the UK, they had 3 explosives, right? By the Waterloo terminal. Heathrow administration and without a facility, right? And I don't know about to come down here now, right? With the anti-Semitism, right? They come dictate to me. You see what's going on with up there? So let's see, you got to draw a line differently, right? In the whole traditional world, right? Financial world. Listen, if you stick with the high rollers, we can't go wrong, right? Put everything stringent in place, in line, at the parallel, we can't go wrong. You understand? Because it's the UK now. When that breaks happen now, they are joint allies, stronger allies with the US now. So if the US go for war for anything, the UK backing them to the fullest.
Right.
You know? But don't want to see that now. But you know, because how they remain in the EU now? EU, they had a couple of sanctions. They can't really go to war for anything. UK now, but they go to war right now. And how they do a draw from the EU, right? In a month, they go to war right now with US. Anything. So. Gotta be careful. I'm gonna aid this. We came on now. We raising the money for Falkland Islands, right? Argentina, who benefit from it? I won't know.
Right.
So and one more thing I say no, right? I recall the 2017 election, right? With the horse feed, right? They go on circles with it. Now the Premier now and the Speaker of the House collaborating, joint venture, conversing properly, right? People pray for the downfall, right? Political priorities. And we fortunate that they're uniting. Yeah?
Working together.
Yeah, two heads better than one. So,
yeah, man.
You know, experience. That's my contribution.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Cool.
All right. A couple of the callers, thank you for sharing with us. Let's go to the phones. Welcome you on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Pretty good. Sterling.
Yes,
how
ma'am.
Are you today? You doing okay today?
Oh, yeah. Blessed, man. I tell you the truth. I thank God for mercies.
Yeah, that's true. Sterling, I am willing to Winter Park twice this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot believe the garbage that is out of control and up in there. It is all thrown down. It's pickle to pickle. It's in small bags. It's food trays out. I tell you, Sterling, we are so blessed. Blessed. I have never heard anyone say they have picked up any germs from the way our garbage is being handled on this island. And Sterling, to think about our garbage, and we want to increase tourism by bringing mega ships, building more hotels, building towers, and so forth. And we can't even keep our garbage of all things under control. Sterling, something is definitely wrong. And Sterling, I want to say to Mr. Seymour today, you need to get through the walk in this island where we have garbage problem.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find these individuals at the home, find them financially, put a fine on them, give them 24 hours to get the garbage in proper order before my workers come out to pick up the garbage.
Right. Yeah.
Really and truly, it is a sore eye to see that we are so out of control with garbage throughout this island. And I want to say, I shouldn't say this on air, but I want to say it. Sterling, we got too many people using the side of the roads for their bathrooms.
Sadly, yeah.
It is sad. From the constructions down to the gardeners, and from the gardeners to the public buses. It's ridiculous, and they have no shame. They're out there as if they're in their own bathroom, wide open in the open air, and everybody crossing can see. It is a shame, Sterling. It is a shame. But Sterling, I can't talk no more about the airport. We can talk later.
Thank you for sharing that, and I'll pick up on the last point. But thank you, Mom.
Okay.
God bless.
Bye.
All right, let's take another call. Welcome, you're on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon. All right. Oh, it's open line here and talk today. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sterling.
Hey, how are you? How are you, man?
Good afternoon, Kenneth Ebanks. How you doing, man?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ebanks. Good to hear from you, man. How's that truck of yours?
No, Mr. Ebanks, that was my father.
Well, respectfully, when my children see you and they don't call you Mr. Ebanks, you know, it'll be a reflection of me, so.
No, they call me Clyde.
Okay, Mr. Clyde. Good to hear from you, sir. Good to hear from you.
Man. The last caller, talking about the garbage.
Yes, sir.
That's one of the, I suppose, the ills of development uncontrolled. Next thing is the traffic, crime, firefighting, schools, hospitals, just all the things of the pace of development that is happening right now. That 100,000 people that some people say we should have, we're going to have that much sooner than we even thought about.
There was some respectful who were speculating that if we were to do the census now, that we're closer to 100,000 than we are to 60,000.
Well, I will not
No.
attempt to debate that.
Right. I won't ask you to either. Yeah.
Yeah. I will go by the census numbers.
Mm-hmm. From, was that 2009?
Yeah.
Or 10, whatever it was? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, my point is that we're definitely going too fast. Right now, they had an earlier caller talking about the airport extension. A lot of discussion recently about going up 25, 50 floors.
Uh-huh.
And I would respectfully suggest to the Premier that instead of having that as a national discussion, have a national discussion on a proper, comprehensive development plan. I mean, it talks about the environment, it talks about physical, social, economical, linking all of those aspects of life together. Not a piecemeal approach, okay, we should have 50 floors. So what? It does not have to be 50 floors to be, quote-unquote, an iconic building. We got 10-story building on 7 Mile Beach there now. In some countries, you got 2, 3, 5 floors or 5-story buildings that are iconic.
Mm-hmm.
You got some 50-floor, 100-story buildings in other countries that are just basically a straight rectangle.
So one man's icon is another man's eyesore.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it is us, as the public, who have to look at these buildings all the time.
But
Go ahead.
No, I was thinking as you share that, the notion that it's not only the height of the building, it's the timing, it's the impact on the infrastructure, the people, not just the construction, but the maintenance and the like. Is this, as you shared, the lack of leadership and vision, lack of a national development plan that has plagued us to date, why we're not seeming to have a proper course charted for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the most recent thing, the airport expansion. What's going to happen in the next 20 years? Where do we extend then?
Well, did they not...
As opposed to now, securing some land in the eastern districts that could be used for a proper airport.
But we understand that this present renovation may have, if we're not fortunate, a 10-year life expectancy.
10 years.
That's been generous.
I would say so.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So 100 million for less than 10 years. That's Okay.
What about the roads? There really isn't any place else unless you have to demolish a lot of buildings to put other roads. What we're going to do now is go 2-3 story roads as well.
Maybe.
Between West Bay and Georgetown.
Well, we could do a channel tunnel.
Well, that's a possibility. It would be extremely expensive because they have such a high water table.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of tourists always ask, can you swim underneath the island? Now we can give them the opportunity to drive.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry. Oh, boy, what was an alcohol for this morning?
No. I would suggest to the current government that we talk about a national, a comprehensive development plan, not only looking at changing the zoning here and there, a comprehensive plan.
Right. Well,
that will then inform us as to whether or not we can have these buildings. If we do, what are their impacts? With the comprehensive plan, you got some means of measuring whether or not you are achieving your goals. The current quote-unquote development plan doesn't allow it. So
true. Well,
whether you have achieved any of the goals, because there really aren't any goals in the plan.
Right. I would invite you to, let us pick this up. I enjoy always your counsel and your input, but respectfully, I'm 5 minutes over the break, and through no fault of my own. So I got sort of, caught up with what you're sharing. But thank you for sharing that with us. Maybe we can pick it up again another time.
Okay, man.
All right. Thanks again. And sometimes I don't pay attention to the breaks. I get caught up with the conversation. Let's pause, though. When we come back, rejoin us. Let's have a few minutes to talk about World Kidney Day. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Check out Fashion Mart's Hot Spring Sale. Apparel for all. Up to 50% off women's, men's, and babies' clothing. Work or casual wear, and from babies through teens. Hair products and accessories too. Located on Printers Way in the old Little Darlings location. Fashion Mart's Spring Sale through March 16th.
Did you know babies sleep an average of 14 hours per day? Tomlinson Furniture has cribs and beds for babies and toddlers, changing tables and more, including baby clothes and basket sets, like perfect gift packages prepared for newborns. Shop the Welcome Baby section of Tomlinson Furniture, corner of Hospital and Smith Road.
The Board of Governors of the University College of the Cayman Islands is delighted to invite the community to the university's first presidential inauguration event, Tuesday, March 12th, 6 p.m. at Sir Vassal Johnson Hall. Witness history in the making as UCCI's first president and CEO, Dr. Stacy R. McAfee, shares her vision of creating a more student-centered, well-resourced institution that serves as a cornerstone of economic development in the Cayman Islands. Learn more by emailing events at ucci.edu.ky or visit facebook.com official UCCI.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. In a few minutes now with our continued partnership with the Health Services Authority, as we have the nurse manager, Nurse Erlyn McLeod, join us as we talk about World Kidney Day. And when I see the nephrologists and the team over at HSA, especially with the dialysis unit, and recognizing that there's a strong love and care and attention, I'm also mindful that as we reflect on the whole issue. It is very sobering indeed, and hopeful as we appreciate the importance of World Kidney Day, we'll take a more proactive approach to our health in general. So, Nurse McLeod, thank you so much for joining us, and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. Thank you for having me today to make people being aware again about this screening that we will do at the HSA on March 14. That is the working date, and as people may be aware, that is a global awareness to aim prevention of the kidney disease, that some persons can become symptomatic for a few years without knowing that they have the problem. So it is important that everybody participate with us in this screening. We will be doing blood pressure checks, glucose checks, urine tests, cholesterol checks. We will have a doctor on site and a dietitian on site with us on March 14 in front of the dialysis area between 8 in the morning to 12 o'clock midday to screen the population and make those who have abnormal values to be seeing the doctor and dietitian at the same time. It's free of cost. Person just have to come in. We will have somebody to register them, and then they will do the screening. As well, on that day, our nurses in the dialysis unit, we have a partnership with company overseas who will do free testing for renal patients as well. That will take place for internally for our patients, and that's a good opportunity because people can be aware of symptoms or being aware of problems that they are for over the years. Sometimes persons are unaware that I have an issue. So that is the only way persons can be detected and prevented.
So next Thursday, right? Just outside the dialysis unit, sort of the atrium.
Yes.
Right by the pharmacist there before you get to specialist in that section there.
Yes.
Who should be there? Are we looking at young people? Are we looking at middle-aged elderly? Just anybody who has a concern?
Anybody. This could be from a young person to an elderly person. So we could do the screen for anyone, and how I say, we will have blood pressure checks, glucose checks, cholesterol checks, urine tests, the weight and the height of the person to be determined, the body index max of the person. So if the person he is overweight, or that could be referred to the dietitian. If the person have cholesterol high levels, we refer that to the doctor and the dietitian. So we will have some persons on site with us to see those patients who really had the problem, and they can be identified as soon as we checks, and the doctor will see them right away.
And as I listen to, imagine that those of us who may know of, say, kidney disease or diabetes, like within our families, that we should
encouraging them to participate and be screened. So that is the only way they can know what's happening. So remember that we informed before, some persons who have kidney disease are not having any symptoms until the disease is very advanced, and some persons can be not aware that they're having the problem, and this is the only opportunity we have, and it's free of cost.
I think that's where I commend the HSA over the years, so having these free public screenings, because I think many people, we don't want to go to the physician. Maybe it's a financial consideration, maybe we feel that we don't have the time, but as you shared, you're focusing specifically on World Kidney Day, the notion that the consequences can be severe.
And insisting that we will have an on-site doctor there to check those persons who will have abnormal values, and that is a good opportunity for those ones who cannot afford to go to doctors to come have the checks. If you need the doctor to be seen, that is the good opportunity for those. So kindly encourage everyone to be participating with us in the event, and make this one more time as a global awareness and preventing kidney disease in Cayman Islands. So we advise everybody to come on March 14 to be with us from 8 in the morning to 12 midday and participate.
And as you look at the whole issue with respect to we're talking about not just cholesterol testing, but would the A1C be tested, or is that not necessary given the other tests that you have been?
Well, in this case, the HbA1c is a 3 months period glucose test.
Yes,
We will not do that in this moment, but it can be referred if the person need to be referred. The doctor who will refer that to be done. So what we do is on start glucose check. Then we'll know as a fasting must be sometimes, and then we will determine if that person is required a further test, so the doctor could see the patient and address those issues.
So as I listen to them, I'm hearing that individuals come specifically. If they're there, just take a few minutes out while they're visiting friends, family, they're passing through the pharmacy. Just stop in and do the test. Be a part of World Kidney Day next Thursday.
Yes.
Up until midday, 12:30.
Yes.
Extended to 1. That's
not a problem. So along we have patients there to screen, we will be there for those persons.
You guys are very committed. Nurse McLeod, thank you very, very much for sharing.
And thank you for having us here.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. It's short and sweet, but we will do our endeavor best to remind our listeners for next Thursday. Come to the atrium, and while you're there, if you just make an opportunity and get tested. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Listen, Radio Cayman tries to be the voice to help to inform and involve the public, and our health and wellness of our populace is fundamental to its continued stability and prosperity. So next Thursday, as partnership with HSA, please go and be a part of World Kidney Day and get tested. All right, Dr. Lynn, tomorrow is your day off, right? You can take it off tomorrow. No, he has to be at the work. So listeners, come back tomorrow. Join me, start at corner in the morning for the record, and then be part of Talk Today right after the midday news. Until then, be blessed.